Hey everyone, I'm Jebin Marshall, and in this very first episode, we're heading down to visit one of the most unique and beloved places in all of Virginia. It's all coming up next.
Byrd Theatre has been part of the Richmond community since 1928. The Coulter and Sama families built the Byrd Theatre. None of the Byrd family was ever actually involved with the Byrd, something that's, it was named for William Byrd II, of course, is one of the founders of Richmond. And actually, if you look at the original blueprints, they originally planned on calling it the National, but they later renamed it to, or the State. I'm sorry, I meant the State, yeah. No, I'm sorry, yeah, if you look at the original blueprints, it was they were originally going to call it the State Theater. And I believe there already was a State Theater at the point that they finally did open the theater, and so they named it the William Byrd. The Byrd was built as a movie theater. It's never been anything else. A lot of people just sort of assume, because they don't have that concept of a time period when movie theaters were supposed to be really special places to go to, they were just like, oh, well, this was something else. It was a live theater. No, it was built as a movie theater. If you wanted to see images of things that happened outside the borders of your own life, the movie theater was the place to go. Not just for entertainment, although that certainly was a primary factor, but also newsreels, travelogues, short subjects. These were all part of the whole movie-going experience. And the Byrd Theatre was right in the heart of that. The Byrd Theatre also was built, 1928 is sort of special because it puts us right between the beginning of the sound age in 1927 with the release of The Jazz Singer, as the first commercial talkie, and of course the beginning of the Great Depression in 1929. So we sort of feel like 1928, the Byrd was probably the last year that a theater as ornate or as opulent as the Byrd could have been built. And also it was the first sound theater to be built in the state of Virginia. Understand, by 28, there were certainly other theaters which had added sound systems, but the Byrd Theatre had a sound system, actually two different ones on day one. Obviously, if it were practical for us to charge more, we certainly would. It's not like we don't have bills and we don't have expenses, sure. And it would be easy for us to double our price and still be competitive with first-run theaters. If the first-run theaters were our primary competition, but they're not. We're not competing with the first-run theaters. No second-run theater these days is competing primarily with the first-run theaters. They're so far off of our map that they might as well not exist. I mean, we certainly know that they're out there. If somebody has the means and wants to see the current hot movie that just came out this week, they're going to go. And there's no way that I'm going to capture that business from them. But if they want to wait, if they still want to see it in a big screen environment, that's what I want. There's the whole concept. Obviously, there is a goal in mind here. We have renovations that we'd love to do. There is the Byrd Theatre Foundation, which is a 501c3 that we'd like to raise money for. From our standpoint, from the standpoint of our long-term goals, from the standpoint of keeping the Byrd Theatre in the Richmond community, it makes much more sense for me to have 400 people in the door every night at $2 a head than 200 people at $4 a head. Right. It just, the more people we have through the door, the longer the Byrd's going to stay in the Richmond community. The lighting in here is as much a part of the design as the plasterwork and the painting and all of the other decorative accoutrements.
It's supposed to be a little bit dim.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Even when the Byrd Theatre was new, it was supposed to look old. It was supposed to give you the feel of an old place. an old, venerable, stately place. And the lighting is absolutely part of that design. There is no white lighting in the auditorium at all.
Oh, wow.
All of it is indirect. All of it is amber, blue, and red. That was part of the original design. We've even had, I had a very highly irate woman one day who said, when were we going to get rid of all of these gaudy colors and go back to the original white? And I'm like,
oh, no.
It wasn't originally white. And she's like, oh, I'm sure it was. And it's like, no. As a matter of fact, the reason that we know that is because those places where you can actually see the bulbs, obviously there are colored bulbs, but the majority of the lighting in the auditorium, except for that from the chandelier, is in these little coves, and those are white bulbs. They have little clamps and holders on the front of them with colored glass roundels in front of them, and that's the way that we know that this lighting design was part of the original design. We also know it because there are a handful of people around who were still here then.
Okay, so Todd, are you, Bill, and Bob always just swinging from the rafters to change these light bulbs on a daily basis, or how does that happen? You got to tell us.
Changing bulbs is a significant part of what we. There doesn't seem to be a day that goes by that there aren't bulbs to be changed somewhere. There are things which have gone longer times without being changed. I mean, obviously, we try to keep, the ones that you can see in the wall sconces and in the trompe-l'oeil windows on the side changed. But for example, around the dome up here,
unbelievable.
There are about 650, 680 some bulbs up there. And all of those had not been completely changed probably in some 20 years or more. The last time that we changed it might have even been like the late 50s. We certainly found light bulbs that were from 58.
Really?
And so forth when we were changing. They had not been completely changed, and it took two crews of two about 2.5 days to change all of them. Because
is it scaffolding? What goes up there?
No. In order to get to these, there is actually a catwalk, which makes it sound like a lot more. It makes it sound a lot more convenient than it actually is, because you picture a catwalk. Oh, you walk around, you reach in, you screw the bulb. In order to get to this you've got to lay on your side on the catwalk, and you've got to reach up underneath the edge of the plaster, and then you got to reverse your hand and come back to where the actual light is. But then it's not like you can get at the bulb, because there's that whole glass rondelle. That's what the color comes from. So there's a little knob you got to loosen. You got to rotate the whole thing. You got to snap the lens out. Then you take the bulb out and you put another one in. Then of course the lens has to go back in. Then you repeat it about 680 times. What you're looking at is almost 17, 18 feet tall. It's a lot bigger than it actually looks. When we lower it, as we do about every 3.5 years or so for relamping and a light dusting, even with the ball at the bottom level with the tops of the seats, the neck of the chandelier still goes well up past the balcony rail where we are now. It is a lot bigger even than it seems. It's about 2.5 tons and over 5,000 individual pieces of Czechoslovakian crystal.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
over 500 light bulbs. The last time that I had anything to do with lowering it directly, Bill and I, it took us maybe about 15 minutes to get it cranked all the way down. And all day long, everybody, it's like when you have the chandelier down, it's like a message goes out to the community at large. Everybody knows chandelier at the Byrd's down. There were people in the building taking picture, video of it, talking about it all day long, all the way up until the time
it's on the Times-Dispatch front page.
Exactly. All the way up till the time it was time to crank it back up. And then amazingly, everybody was gone except Bill and I. And it took us like an hour and 15 minutes to crank it back up, after which we just sort of lay panning like dead fish on that. And then the next year I hired a couple of strapping young men and let them do the cranking, which is
well, it shows you're a smart man. Only do it once. Just do it once.
now I can say that I've done it, and that's the thing. Another thing, it's easier to appreciate from this angle that you can't really. The two smaller chandeliers that are in the boxes on the side are actually scale replicas of the main chandelier.
Before we go in and talk with Bill about the projection room, tell us briefly about the history of the harp, and where has that been there since day one?
Well, yeah, the harp and the piano have both been here since the beginning. Now, the harp is simply decorative. It's never actually been a playable instrument in its history here. It's just been on display for years, and this is the danger of telling things that you just assume instead of actually knowing about it. For years.
Go ahead and turn the cameras off.
Yeah, exactly. For years, we actually did tell people that it was a Wurlitzer pedal harp because that's what we had been told.
Right, yeah.
It's a Wurlitzer pedal harp. And then this woman from the Netherlands contacted me, who for whatever reason has made it her life's work to track down every Wurlitzer pedal harp still in existence. And she said, I want a picture of the soundboard and the serial number from it.
Oh, man.
And so I crawl up into the box to take a picture of it, and it's like, okay, this doesn't say Wurlitzer, it says Lyon and Healy. And she immediately lost interest. And then the funny thing is that we actually had a jazz harpist, Park Stickney. He did a concert here. I mean, it couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 weeks after that. It's like after years of telling people it was a Wurlitzer pedal harp and finding out that we were wrong, he walks in the building, and I go, yeah, this is a harp. I said, we were always told that this was a Wurlitzer pedal harp, but we just found out. And he's like, no, it's a Lyon and Healy. It's like, well, where were you years ago? We needed to know. But we do know for a fact that it has just been decorative the whole time that it's been here. It actually has a crack in its soundboard, and just the fact of how long it's gone, even without that, without the fact that it's gone so long without tuning, means that it basically is lost to us as an instrument. But the reason, I mean, the decorative reason that it's sort of there, if you see the platforming that it seems to be sitting on, is actually an instrument in and of itself. That's underneath that cloth is a marimba or wood harp.
Really? I've never seen that.
Which is actually part of the Wurlitzer installation and can be played from the keyboard there. As is the piano. The piano is not decorative. It has an action in it very much like a player piano. It's got its own vacuum blower. It's separate from the main blower that fuels the rest of the instrumentation in the organ installation. And the keyboard of the piano can be played from the console of the organ. Both these things have been here since the very beginning. They were part of the organ installation, part of the original theater installation from the very beginning.
So we wrapped up with Todd, and it was so great to talk to him because you could just tell that the Byrd's history has become his history. And so that it's really neat to see somebody pour themselves into what they do that much. Then we went up to meet Bill, the head projectionist and building superintendent. He started in 1986 with the Byrd, and he quickly became one of the few people that had all the secrets.
I think I've got them all.
Well, don't share all of them. Just share a few of them with us
I'm
today.
keeping something so they'll miss me when I retire.
Oh, there you go.
Make them hunt for the
But just wear a really thick, wear a really thick shirt on your last day, and then you may not only take some secrets with you, you can take some items with you as well.
Nah, I don't want anything. Everything here I've had my hands on enough. When I leave, I'm gonna walk away and come back and pay to see a movie. This machine is a Master Brenograph Model F7. It's a dual slide projector and effects projector. Its primary use, at least for the first several years that the theater was open, was screen ads. Now, for those who think screen ads are new,
Yeah,
they're far from it. I mean, I have information at home that goes back to 1915 in a book that describes how to sell screen ads to your business neighbors and the local funeral home, and the equipment that you'll need to get them on the screen reliably. It's been in use its whole life. I mean, it's never been out of service. And after screen ads sort of faded away in the 50s, it was used as a small spotlight, just highlight lights in the auditorium. It's a very versatile machine. It can, anything you can shine a light through, you can put into it. It'll handle slides from 35 millimeter to 9x8. These are the second generation here. The earliest ones were replaced in the early 50s. They were replaced in 1953, just ahead of the introduction of CinemaScope. Replacing the projectors wasn't absolutely necessary for scope, but it gave the newer machines gave better light, more light on the screen because of much different shutter design. And these have been here since '53. The people who were here before me left records. Most incredibly reliable machines I've ever seen. They've never been rebuilt. They've had, maintenance and an occasional part replacement, but for 56 years they've run every night. I mean, how many millions of feet of film?
And it's amazing.
Things in 50 years.
And all the different components that go through it. Look at this entire exhaust system that goes all the way through.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
The exhaust system takes away the heat from the lamp. There's a 3,000 watt arc lamp, xenon short arc lamp inside of the lamp housing, and it makes a lot of heat. I mean, it's the envelope temperature on the bulb runs at around 1,800 degrees.
Take us through an evening at the Byrd. I mean, you get here at what time, or whoever's running the show gets here at what time, and they have to run what sort of tests, or is it such old hat now to where people know it and they just put faith in that it's going to work?
Well, once you're trained and you know what you're doing, I mean, we ask them the projectionists to be here around 6 o'clock for a 7:15 show. That gives them time to get here, get the film out. If somebody had to leave early the night before, didn't have time to rewind, that's okay on occasion. Rewind, get the film ready, put it on the machine, thread both machines, and be ready to roll. Well ahead of the show of showtime. Turn the lights on at 6:45, and you've got a few minutes. You've got a half an hour to sort out what you're going to do.
Unless you're doing a midnight show, and then people get really rowdy, and you got to. You guys are safe up here from the rowdy crowd.
Well, the midnight people are certainly an entirely different group.
Yeah.
And we let them have a good time. If it's part of the mystique of the midnight show is it's a little rowdy. If you want to come and see a serious screening of the movie, don't come to midnight. Not here, not anywhere else.
I can vouch for that. Yeah.
Because the audience expects to be allowed to be more than a little raucous.
This is a lot and a huge light board.
At one time, every theater, especially stage houses, had something like this. Backstage, I mean, in big theaters would have something as long as this room and 2 decks high. I mean, there'd be a catwalk up here for the guys who were working the top bank. I mean, you can go out and hunt and find pictures in old theaters like Radio City Music Hall, the Roxy in New York. The big theaters had gigantic dimmer boards. Today, one person does the whole thing. I mean, you get a routine down. It's busy right at the start of a movie, but it's offset by the hours of stark boredom once the movie's on the screen. You've seen it a couple times, and the main thing you've got to do is stay awake. Frankly, when I'm here and I know I'm really tired, I won't sit in a chair. I'm going to perch on that stool, because that way, when you start to go to sleep, you'll fall off.
It hurts.
Early movie is on these three reels. Whoops.
Well, I guess the late movie's not happening anymore there.
But I mean, that movie is 2 hours and 17 minutes. It comes in on more or less 2,000-foot reels that are this size. You cut the leaders off.
Now, did you build this, Bill?
This rack? No, I'm not going to take claim for that. Todd built that. It's got a little angle on it. we thought we were going to be able to put a rack of these things on it, but actually it didn't turn out to be quite strong enough. But it works well for what we use it for. Usually it's full of small reels.
Oh yeah. Well, some of the nicest places in the world are held together with duct tape, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
The screen ads are now on a digital slide projector. And the old machine over there we use as a spotlight, and occasionally somebody will come in and say, hey, it's my wife's birthday, my husband's birthday. Can you put a slide up for that? Well, it takes a while to do the thing digitally. I mean, if they're not going to be real picky about it, somebody with nice handwriting or printing can take a piece of glass and do it by hand. We draw. I had somebody 7 or 8 months ago wanted to do one, so we made the circle on the piece of glass. This is where you need to write it. And he wrote "Happy Birthday" to his wife on the glass. Beautiful, beautiful handwriting, and we put it up.
Oh, that's great.
But it's quick and easy to do. A lot easier to do than it is to make a.
And that's one of the great things.
Slide.
Great things about the Byrd.
We've made a point of hanging on to as much of the old technology as is practical. I mean, some things have gone because you just couldn't do anything else with them. And we had a beautiful old carbon arc follow spot, but you couldn't get carbons for it anymore. I mean, we don't have enough space to have an antique that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I guess it's probably not even profitable for people to even manufacture these things anymore. So a lot of those things are going the way of the dinosaurs too.
We would have loved to keep it, but I found somebody who wanted it and gave it to them, shipped it to California.
Wow.
So it's a 300-pound box. There's a picture on a website of the warehouse facility of one of the major exhibitors. There are rows and rows and rows of film projectors sitting outside. Lenses, lamp housings, everything. You know what they're doing? They've got a 30 cubic yard dumpster out there.
Oh, no.
They're throwing them in just as fast as they can load them up and haul them to a scrap metal yard.
You're breaking some people's hearts right now. You know that?
I mean, everybody hates to see it go. I mean, I like the machine certainly got more class than the digital, but it's history.
Yeah.
Keep one, and for as long as you can reconcile yourself to having it, and then it's got to go.
Spoken like a true veteran. Well, let's go down and talk to Bob here. It's been a pleasure.
Catch him. All right. Thank you.
There are only a handful of theaters left in the country that at which you can still hear a true theater organ played on a regular basis. And the Byrd's organ is a true theater organ. It was designed specifically for this building. It was designed specifically to allow the theater's house organist to act as that one-man orchestra to accompany silent movies, which were still a significant portion of the day-to-day product when the theater opened in 1928.
My name is Bob Gullidge. I'm the house organist of the Byrd Theatre. I do the organ feature on Saturday night. When people come to the Byrd, they expect a little more than they're going to get at the local theater at the strip mall. So it's always fun to watch new people who come in who've never been here. And believe it or not, there still are a few, and particularly younger children. And they hear that the lights go down, the curtain drops, the house lights dim, and there's this very grand introduction, and that first big bass note sort of rolls across the floor, and they sort of, you can I like to say they can feel it in their rear ends. They know something special is going to happen, and then all of a sudden this very grand console, this massive piece of furniture on the lift sort of rises above the orchestra rail, and we try to make it a very special, 12, 15 minutes.
Do you remember the very first night that you had to play? I mean, to get on something this magnificent, obviously you have played for a long time. Were you nervous the first night you played here?
Fell to pieces. It was. I was fortunate enough to take lessons on this organ.
Really?
From Eddie Weaver.
Oh, wow.
And it was a great joy to me to be able to take lessons from a man who had actually done this in the heyday. Mm-hmm. When, all of the theaters had these organs. At one time, there were 19 of these organs in the commercial zone of the city of Richmond. Now there are 3, and only 2 of those are playable.
Wow.
And only one of the 2 is an original installation, which this organ is. This is original to the building, 84 years old.
Did Eddie Weaver play at all 3 locations, or did he play at more locations than just here when he was playing around town?
He's probably best known for the time he spent at Lowe's Theater.
Lowe's, okay.
He moved here to the Byrd in, I think it was 1961, and stayed until 1981. So he was at the Byrd for 20 years, but he was at the Lowe's for much, much longer time. A lot of the big theaters, for the organ feature, if it was to be a solo performance, mm-hmm. wanted the ability to move the console to center stage into the spotlight for the performer. And then, of course, they had to run the movie, so they had to have the means to move it back out of sight. Mm-hmm. The original theater organist was not only played the accompaniment for the silent movies, he was also the sound effects man.
Oh, okay.
Which is why, you really dig into this console, you'll find things like bird whistles and train whistles and cowbells and, horses' hooves and airplane motors, and they're all of thunder machines.
Really? They used it for thunder as well?
Sure, yeah.
I can believe that.
There are thunder pedals in there, so you can make thunder roll across the hall. A wind machine, so, if there's a storm on the screen, one man in the pit could, create a thunderstorm inside the theater. A lot of the theater owners, with the coming of talking pictures, stopped making payments on their organs. Uh-oh. So a great many of these organs were repossessed and broken up for church organs or funeral homes or even some residence organs. It was really interesting when you didn't just go down to, say, Corley Company, which was, they were the brokers for Wurlitzer in town at the time, but you didn't just walk into the store and say, I want to buy an organ. Mm-hmm. You went through the dealer who sent a set of the architect's plans for this building to Wurlitzer, and their designers and engineers designed and scaled.
Oh, wow. So
an organ. All of these were custom installations. They had to compensate the acoustics of the building with that dome. Plus, like I say, they came to the game late. They wanted something bigger than anybody else mm-hmm. had. So they added 2 more sets of pipes, 1 more manual or keyboard. Mm-hmm. The other big organs in town only had the 3. So this one had to have 4. And to really make it special, there was the addition of the piano. Well, the little kids will say the ghost plays. But I do get, questions once in a while. Somebody will ask me out in the lobby, how do you keep up with that player piano?
Okay, so for the Byrd regulars out there, I wanted to ask about one thing that always makes a big impression, and that's the mirror ball. I wanted to know how that became part of the light show.
I have no idea when that thing showed
It was just here. It was just here.
I came back in 1996, and that thing was sitting on top of the console, and it's...
and you had to use it, because it was already...
It is ingrained in the audience. We have one engineer here that I joke with who says that really the organ here is to provide accompaniment for the light show, including the mirror ball. For all the character and beauty of the theater, it's the organ that really gives the theater its voice.
Yeah, I think so. And
You know, I'm very proud to be, I certainly won't be the last, but, you know, I sit on a bench that in 84 years has only been occupied by 13 people. And I think that's a real testament to, you know, the city and its commitment. Richmond loves its monuments and its history, and for a city that's eaten up with all of it, you know, they still recognize, this audience still recognizes the Byrd as a very special place, and we still have a very appreciative and growing audience, not just for this building but for this organ, even after all this time. So it's just it's a real honor and a pleasure for me to be here.
so a few weeks before this video was made, I found out that Bill actually passed away. And I think Bob's words resonate really loudly. Bill was one of the few people who have kept the magic of the Byrd alive. And he is one of hopefully a long list of people in the long run that will keep the magic alive at the Byrd. Bob also said something that really speaks loudly to who they are, to what they've done. Here's a guy who drives 2 hours every Saturday night just to play for all of you. These people do it because they love it.
Nobody is going to get rich in this business. It's you know, this is something you do because you love it. And you know, when you get into basically what is a commercial dinosaur, which this building is, it will only survive on the goodwill of people that really love the place. I've been in and out of here on and off for the last 42 years. But you know, even today, after all this time, you know, there are very few places I would rather be than just right here.